Sarah Martinez never imagined that her steady hands, trained to save lives, would one day hold a sniper rifle with deadly precision. Growing up in a small Texas town, she always dreamed of helping people. Her father was a paramedic, and her mother worked as a nurse at the local hospital. The dinner table conversations were filled with stories of saving lives, and Sarah knew from a young age that medicine was her calling. When she turned 18, Sarah faced a difficult choice. Her family couldn't afford to send her to medical. School and student loans seemed overwhelming. That's when her high school guidance counselor mentioned the military. "You could train as a medic," he suggested. "Get your medical training, serve your country, and have college paid for when you get out." The idea appealed to Sarah. She could help soldiers, gain valuable medical experience, and secure her future education. After months of research and conversations with military recruiters, she made her decision. Sarah enlisted in the Army with a guaranteed spot in medical training. Basic training was harder than anything Sarah had ever experienced. The physical demands pushed her body to its limits, but it was the mental challenges that truly tested her. Drill sergeants screamed in her face, questioned her abilities, and demanded perfection in every task. Many nights, Sarah lay in her bunk wondering if she had made the right choice. But something unexpected happened during those grueling weeks. Sarah discovered she was tougher than she ever imagined. When other recruits struggled with marksmanship, she excelled. Her hands never shook when holding a rifle, and her breathing remained steady under pressure. The same qualities that made her want to be a doctor, focus, precision, and calm under stress, made her an exceptional marksman. Her drill instructor, Sergeant Williams, noticed her talent immediately. "Martinez," he called out after a particularly impressive shooting session. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" "Nowhere, Sergeant," Sarah replied honestly. "This is my first time with a rifle." Sergeant Williams raised an eyebrow. "Natural talent like that is rare. You should consider infantry training." Sarah shook her head firmly. "I'm here to be a medic, Sergeant. I want to save lives, not take them." The sergeant nodded respectfully but made a note in her file. He had seen many soldiers come and go, and he recognized something special in Sarah Martinez. Her combination of natural shooting ability and unwavering composure was extraordinary. After basic training, Sarah moved on to advanced individual training for combat medics. Here she learned to treat wounds under simulated combat conditions. She studied anatomy, pharmacology, and emergency medicine. The training was intense, with scenarios designed to replicate the chaos and pressure of real battlefield medicine. During one particularly challenging exercise, Sarah found herself treating multiple wounded soldiers while explosions echoed around the training area and instructors shouted conflicting orders. While other medics struggled to maintain focus, Sarah remained calm and methodical. She triaged patients efficiently, applied tourniquets with precision, and managed IV lines without hesitation. Her instructor, Sergeant First Class Rodriguez, was impressed. "Martinez, you've got ice in your veins," he told her after the exercise. "Most medics take months to develop that level of composure. You were born with it." Sarah felt proud of the compliment, but she also felt a weight of responsibility. People's lives would depend on her ability to remain calm under pressure. She threw herself into her studies, determined to be the best medic possible. As graduation from medical training approached, Sarah received unexpected news. She was being assigned to the 75th Ranger Regiment, one of the Army's elite special operations units. This wasn't typical for a new medic, and Sarah was both honored and nervous about the assignment. "The Rangers requested you specifically," her commanding officer explained. "Your instructors recommended you for special operations medicine. It's a challenging assignment, but your skills are exactly what they need." Sarah packed her belongings with mixed emotions. She was excited about the opportunity to serve with elite soldiers, but she also understood that Ranger missions would be more dangerous than typical Army deployments. She would be treating wounded soldiers in some of the most hostile environments in the world. When Sarah arrived at Fort Benning for Ranger training, she was one of only 3 medics in her class. The other soldiers looked at her with curiosity and skepticism. Many had never served alongside a female medic, especially one assigned to special operations. The first few weeks were difficult. Some soldiers questioned whether she belonged there, and Sarah felt the weight of representing all female medics. She knew that any mistake would be magnified, and any success would be scrutinized. The pressure was intense, but Sarah refused to quit. During a particularly challenging field exercise, Sarah proved her worth in an unexpected way. The training scenario involved a simulated ambush where multiple Rangers were wounded. As Sarah worked to treat the casualties, the exercise controller added a new element: enemy sniper fire. "Everyone stay down," the instructor shouted. "Sniper in the tree line." While other soldiers hit the ground, Sarah continued treating her patients. She had to make a choice: take cover and let her patients die, or continue medical treatment while exposed to enemy fire. Without hesitation, she chose to continue her work. "Martinez, get down," her team leader shouted. "Not until my patients are stable," she replied, never stopping her work. The instructor was amazed by her dedication and composure. Even in a simulated scenario, Sarah demonstrated the kind of courage that defined special operations soldiers. Word of her actions spread quickly through the training unit. By the end of Ranger training, Sarah had earned the respect of her fellow soldiers. They no longer saw her as just a female medic trying to prove herself. They saw her as a Ranger who happened to be a medic. The distinction was important, and Sarah felt proud to have earned her place among the elite. As Sarah prepared for her first deployment, she had no idea that her unique combination of medical skills and natural marksmanship would soon be tested in ways she never imagined. The battlefield was about to present her with an impossible choice that would change not only her life, but also earn her a place in military legend. Her commanding officer pulled her aside before deployment. "Martinez, you're about to deploy with some of the best soldiers in the world. Your job is to keep them alive and healthy. But remember, sometimes the best way to save lives is to be ready for anything the battlefield throws at you." Sarah nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. She was ready to serve as a medic, but she had no idea that fate would soon ask much more of her. The Afghan mountains were nothing like the training grounds at Fort Benning. Sarah's first deployment took her to Forward Operating Base Chapman, a remote outpost nestled in a valley surrounded by towering peaks. The base housed a mix of Army, Rangers, Navy SEALs, and Special Forces operators, all working together on classified missions deep in Taliban territory. Sarah quickly established herself as the go-to medic for the special operations teams. Her medical station was always perfectly organized, and she had an uncanny ability to anticipate what supplies would be needed for each mission. The operators began requesting her specifically for their patrols, knowing that her calm presence and medical expertise could mean the difference between life and death. Lieutenant Commander Jack Stevens, a seasoned Navy SEAL, was initially skeptical about working with the young Army medic. He had served multiple deployments and preferred working with medics he knew and trusted, but after watching Sarah work during a training exercise, his opinion changed completely. "She's different," he told his team after Sarah successfully treated a simulated sucking chest wound in record time. "I've never seen a medic stay that calm while taking simulated enemy fire. She didn't even flinch when the explosions went off right next to her." The SEALs began including Sarah in their mission planning sessions, something they rarely did with support personnel. They valued her input, not just on medical matters but on tactical considerations as well. Sarah had a sharp analytical mind and often spotted potential problems that others missed. During one briefing, the team was planning a raid on a Taliban compound suspected of housing a high-value target. The intelligence suggested the compound was lightly defended, but Sarah studied the satellite photos with concern. "Something doesn't look right," she said, pointing to the images. "These defensive positions are too sophisticated for a lightly defended compound. And look at the site, lines from these hills. If I were setting up an ambush, I'd put snipers right there." The SEAL team leader, Chief Petty Officer Mike Rodriguez, looked at the photos more carefully. "You're right. Good catch, Doc. We need to adjust our approach." The mission was modified based on Sarah's observations, and it turned out she was absolutely correct. The compound was heavily defended, and Taliban fighters had indeed positioned snipers in the exact location she had identified. Her tactical awareness helped prevent the team from walking into a deadly trap. Word of Sarah's analytical skills spread throughout the base. Soon, other teams were consulting with her during mission planning, not just for medical considerations, but for tactical input as well. She had developed a reputation for seeing details that others missed and thinking like the enemy. 3 months into her deployment, Sarah's life changed forever during a routine patrol in the Kunar province. Her team was conducting a presence patrol in a village suspected of harboring Taliban fighters. The mission was supposed to be simple: talk to local leaders, gather intelligence, and demonstrate American strength in the region. The patrol consisted of 8 Rangers and 4 Navy SEALs, with Sarah serving as the primary medic. They moved through the village in the early morning hours, when most civilians were still inside their homes. The village appeared quiet, almost deserted. Staff Sergeant Danny Walsh, the patrol leader, felt uneasy about the situation. "Something's not right," he whispered into his radio. "This place is too quiet. Where is everybody?" Sarah was thinking the same thing. In her 3 months in country, she had never seen a village completely empty during morning hours. Usually, there were children playing, women carrying water, and men tending to livestock. The silence was unnatural and threatening. The team continued their patrol, maintaining proper spacing and security protocols. Sarah carried her medical bag and an M4 carbine, the standard weapon for support personnel. She had qualified expert with the weapon during training but had never fired it in combat. As they rounded a corner near the village center, the world exploded into chaos. Taliban fighters opened fire from multiple directions, creating a perfect kill zone with the patrol caught in the middle. The distinctive crack of AK-47 rifles echoed off the mud brick walls as bullets whizzed past the soldiers' heads. "Contact left. Contact right," soldiers shouted as they dove for cover behind whatever protection they could find. Sarah immediately began looking for wounded soldiers while trying to find cover herself. She could see Specialist Martinez writhing on the ground about 20 meters away, clearly hit and unable to move to safety. Without thinking, she sprinted across the open ground under heavy fire to reach him. "I'm hit! I'm hit!" Martinez screamed, holding his leg where blood was seeping through his pants. Sarah slid into position next to him and immediately began assessing his wound. The bullet had hit his thigh, missing the femoral artery by inches. She quickly applied a tourniquet and gave him morphine for the pain. "You're going to be fine," she told him while working. "The bleeding is controlled and we'll get you out of here." But as Sarah worked on Martinez, she realized the team was in serious trouble. The Taliban had positioned themselves perfectly, with fighters on rooftops and in second-story windows surrounding the patrol. The Americans were trapped in a courtyard with limited cover and no clear escape route. Chief Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio. "We need air support now. We're taking effective fire from multiple positions and we have casualties." The response was not what they wanted to hear. "Air support is 20 minutes out. You need to hold your position." 20 minutes might as well have been 20 hours. The Taliban fighters were methodically picking apart their defensive positions, and ammunition was running low. Sarah could see the stress on the faces of the operators around her. Sergeant First Class Thompson, one of the Rangers, pointed toward a building about 150 meters away. "See that window on the second floor? There's a sniper in there picking us apart. Every time someone moves, he puts rounds right on target." Sarah looked toward the building and could see the occasional muzzle flash from the window. The sniper was indeed causing major problems for the team. Several soldiers had been wounded trying to move to better positions, and the team's ability to maneuver was severely limited. "Can anyone get a shot on him?" Chief Rodriguez asked over the radio. "Negative," came the responses. "No clear shot from our positions." Sarah studied the situation carefully. From her position behind a low wall, she had a clear line of sight to the sniper's window. The distance was significant, but it was definitely within the range of her M4 carbine. She had qualified expert marksman during training, and her natural shooting ability was exceptional. But Sarah was a medic, not a sniper. Her job was to save lives, not take them. She had joined the military to heal people, not to kill them. The moral weight of what she was considering felt overwhelming. Then she looked at Specialist Martinez, who was depending on her medical care to survive. She looked around at the other soldiers who were trapped and running out of ammunition. She realized that sometimes the best way to save lives might require taking one. The crack of the enemy sniper's rifle echoed through the courtyard again. and Sarah watched as Corporal Jackson dropped behind cover, blood streaming from a wound in his shoulder. The Taliban marksman was systematically picking apart their defensive positions, and the team was running out of options. Sarah's training as a medic screamed at her to rush to Jackson's aid, but her tactical awareness told her that moving across the open ground would be suicide. The enemy sniper had them pinned down completely, and every attempted movement resulted in accurate fire. "Doc, Jackson's hit bad," Sergeant Thompson called out from his position near the wounded corporal. "He's losing a lot of blood." Sarah could see Jackson's condition was deteriorating rapidly. The shoulder wound appeared to have hit an artery, and without immediate medical attention, he would bleed out within minutes. But she couldn't reach him as long as the sniper controlled the courtyard. Chief Rodriguez's voice came across the radio with increasing urgency. "I need someone to take out that sniper now. We're losing people." Sarah looked around at her teammates' positions. The angles were all wrong. The Rangers and SEALs were trapped behind cover that protected them from the sniper, but gave them no opportunity to return effective fire. The enemy fighter had chosen his position perfectly, with excellent fields of fire and superior elevation. From her position behind the low stone wall, Sarah had the only clear shot at the sniper's window. The distance was approximately 150 meters, a challenging shot under ideal conditions, but nearly impossible in the middle of a firefight. Her hands had never shaken during training, but this was real combat with real lives hanging in the balance. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment and tried to center herself. She thought about her training, about the countless hours she had spent on the range perfecting her marksmanship skills. Her drill instructors had always praised her natural ability and steady hands. Now those skills might be the only thing that could save her teammates. "I have a shot," Sarah called out over the radio. "Negative, Doc," Chief Rodriguez responded immediately. "Your job is medical, not tactical. Stay in your lane." But Sarah was already adjusting her position, using her medical bag as a shooting rest. She could see Jackson's condition worsening by the second, and she knew that someone had to act quickly or they would lose him. "Chief, with respect, Jackson's going to die if we don't neutralize that sniper in the next 60 seconds, Sarah replied calmly. "I'm the only one with a clear shot." There was a brief silence on the radio before Chief Rodriguez responded, "Do it." Sarah steadied her M4 carbine against her medical bag and peered through the rifle's optic sight. The enemy sniper's muzzle flash had given away his exact position in the second-story window. She could see the dark outline of his head and shoulders as he prepared to fire again. Her breathing slowed automatically, and her heart rate decreased despite the chaos around her. This was the same state of calm focus she entered when treating critically wounded patients. Time seemed to slow down as she aligned her sight picture and began to apply pressure to the trigger. The distance was significant for an M4 carbine, and Sarah had to account for bullet drop over the 150-meter range. She adjusted her aim slightly, high and to the left to compensate for the wind she could see moving the dust in the courtyard. Just as she was about to fire, another burst of enemy gunfire erupted from a different building. The Taliban fighters were attempting to flank the American position, and the tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. "Multiple enemy fighters moving to our 6 o'clock, Sergeant Thompson called out. "They're trying to surround us." The pressure on Sarah intensified. Not only did she need to make this shot to save Jackson, but the team's entire survival might depend on eliminating the sniper who was preventing them from maneuvering against the flanking force. Sarah forced herself to ignore the additional chaos and focused solely on her target. She controlled her breathing, placing the crosshairs precisely on the center of the enemy sniper's silhouette. Her finger found the trigger's natural break point, and she began the smooth, steady squeeze that she had practiced thousands of times. Her M4 kicked against her shoulder, and the rifle's report was sharp and clear even amid the surrounding gunfire. Sarah watched through her optic as the enemy sniper jerked backward and disappeared from the window. The accurate fire from that position immediately ceased. "Target down," Sarah called out over the radio. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Without the Overwatch sniper controlling the courtyard, the Rangers and SEALs were able to maneuver freely. They quickly repositioned to counter the flanking attack and began returning effective fire against the remaining Taliban positions. Sarah holstered her rifle and sprinted across the courtyard to reach Corporal Jackson. The wound was severe, but her quick action had saved precious time. She immediately applied pressure to stop the bleeding and started an IV to replace lost fluids. "Stay with me, Jackson," she said while working. "You're going to be fine. The bleeding is controlled and we'll have you out of here soon." As Sarah worked on Jackson, the firefight continued around them, but the tactical balance had shifted completely. With the sniper eliminated, the American forces were able to use their superior training and equipment to methodically clear the remaining enemy positions. Chief Rodriguez appeared at Sarah's side as she finished treating Jackson's wound. "How is he, Doc?" "He'll make it," Sarah replied without looking up from her work. "The artery was nicked, but I got the bleeding stopped. He needs surgery, but he's stable for transport." The chief nodded and then looked at Sarah with an expression of amazement and respect. "That was an incredible shot, Martinez. I've seen trained snipers miss targets at that range under perfect conditions. You made it in the middle of a firefight with people shooting at you." Sarah felt a complex mix of emotions. She was proud that her actions had saved her teammates' lives, but she also felt the weight of having killed another human being. This wasn't what she had imagined when she enlisted as a medic. "I did what I had to do to save Jackson and the rest of the team," she said quietly. Within minutes, the remaining Taliban fighters had been eliminated or driven off, and the immediate threat was over. Air support arrived to provide cover, while the team evacuated their wounded and prepared to move to a safer location. As Sarah gathered her medical equipment, she noticed several of the SEALs watching her with new respect. These were some of the most elite warriors in the world, and they had just witnessed something extraordinary. A medic had made a precision shot under combat conditions that many trained snipers would have found challenging. Staff Sergeant Walsh, the patrol leader, approached Sarah as they prepared to move out. "Martinez, I've been doing this for 12 years and I've never seen anything like what you just did. That shot saved all our lives." Sarah nodded but didn't respond. She was still processing what had happened and what it meant for her identity as a medic and a soldier. She had crossed a line that she never expected to cross, and there was no going back. As the team began their movement back to base, Sarah carried her medical bag and her rifle with equal comfort. She was still a medic first, but she had proven that she could be much more when the situation demanded it. The other operators watched her differently now. She wasn't just the team medic anymore. She was a medic who could fight with the best of them when lives were on the line. Word of Sarah's remarkable shot spread through forward operating base Chapman like wildfire. Within hours of the patrol's return, every special operations soldier on the base had heard about the medic who had taken out an enemy sniper at 150 meters during a complex firefight. The story grew with each telling, but the basic facts remained the same. Sarah Martinez had saved lives by making an impossible shot when it mattered most. Colonel James Mitchell, the base commander, called Sarah to his office the morning after the firefight. She expected to be reprimanded for exceeding her role as a medic, but instead found herself face to face with several high-ranking officers who looked at her with curiosity and respect. "Specialist Martinez," Colonel Mitchell began, "I've read the after-action reports from yesterday's patrol. Chief Rodriguez and Staff Sergeant Walsh both credit you with saving multiple lives through your actions. Tell me in your own words what happened." Sarah recounted the events objectively, focusing on the tactical situation and the medical needs of her wounded teammates. She didn't try to embellish or downplay her actions, simply stating the facts as she remembered them. "Sir, Corporal Jackson was bleeding out from an arterial wound, and the enemy sniper was preventing anyone from reaching him. I had the only clear shot, so I took it. After neutralizing the threat, I was able to provide life-saving medical care to Jackson and the other wounded." Colonel Mitchell exchanged glances with the other officers present. "Specialist, you understand that engaging enemy combatants isn't typically part of a medic's job description?" "Yes, sir," Sarah replied. "But saving lives is part of my job description, and sometimes that requires unconventional methods." The colonel smiled slightly. "That's exactly the kind of thinking we value in special operations. Your combination of medical skills and tactical abilities is extremely rare and valuable." What Sarah didn't know was that her actions had caught the attention of people far above her pay grade. The Special Operations Command had been experimenting with cross-trained personnel who could perform multiple roles during critical missions. Sarah's natural abilities and demonstrated performance made her an ideal candidate for advanced training. Over the following weeks, Sarah's duties began to change subtly. She was still the primary medic for special operations teams, but she was also being included in more advanced tactical training. The SEALs and Rangers began teaching her urban combat techniques, advanced marksmanship and infiltration methods. Chief Rodriguez took particular interest in developing Sarah's shooting skills. "You've got natural talent that can't be taught," he told her during an impromptu training session. "But talent without proper technique can only take you so far." The chief began working with Sarah on precision shooting techniques, teaching her about wind reading, range estimation, and advanced ballistics. What amazed him was how quickly she absorbed the information and applied it to her shooting. "Most snipers take years to develop this level of precision," he observed as Sarah consistently hit targets at 300 meters with her M4. "You're doing it after a few weeks of training." Sarah found herself enjoying the technical aspects of precision shooting. It required the same attention to detail and steady hands that made her a good medic, but applied in a completely different way. The mathematical precision of ballistics calculations appealed to her analytical mind. During this period, Sarah also continued to excel in her medical duties. Her experience treating combat wounds had made her one of the most skilled medics on the base, and her calm demeanor under pressure was becoming legendary among the operators. Lieutenant Commander Stevens, the SEAL team leader who had initially been skeptical of working with Sarah, became one of her strongest supporters. "She's not just a medic who can shoot," he explained to visiting officers. "She's a complete operator who happens to have advanced medical training. There's a difference." The difference became apparent during Sarah's next major combat operation. Intelligence had located a high-value Taliban leader in a compound deep in enemy territory. The mission required a small team to infiltrate the area, capture or kill the target, and extract without being detected. Normally, such a mission would require a team of 6 to 8 operators, plus a medic for support. But personnel were limited, and the mission parameters were extremely tight. The team needed to be small and fast, but they couldn't compromise on medical support or tactical capability. "I want Martinez on this mission," Lieutenant Commander Stevens told the mission planners. "She can provide medical support and serve as a designated marksman if needed. That lets us take a smaller team without sacrificing capabilities." The mission briefing was unlike anything Sarah had experienced before. Instead of being relegated to medical considerations, she was included in all aspects of the tactical planning. Her input was valued not just on casualty evacuation procedures, but on infiltration routes, overwatch positions, and target engagement protocols. The target compound was located in a valley surrounded by hills that provided excellent observation and fields of fire. Sarah studied the terrain carefully and identified several positions where a sniper could provide overwatch for the assault team. "If we position someone on this ridgeline," she said, pointing to the map, "they could cover the entire compound and the primary escape routes. It would also give us early warning if enemy reinforcements approach from the north." The team leader nodded approvingly. "Good analysis. You'll take that position." Sarah felt a chill of realization. She wasn't being assigned as backup support or last resort. She was being given a primary tactical role as the team's designated marksman and overwatch sniper. The transformation from medic to sniper was becoming official. The mission launched at 0200 hours on a moonless night. Sarah carried a borrowed M24 sniper rifle, along with her medical supplies, moving through the mountains with the same stealth and precision as the elite operators around her. Her training with the SEALs had taught her to move silently through difficult terrain while maintaining awareness of her surroundings. The team reached their positions without being detected. Sarah established her overwatch position on the ridgeline, approximately 400 meters from the target compound. Through her rifle scope, she could see the entire objective area clearly, including guard positions and potential escape routes. "Overwatch in position," she whispered into her radio. "I have eyes on the entire compound. 2 guards visible at the main entrance, 1 guard on the northwest corner." The assault team began their approach, moving through the darkness toward the compound walls. Sarah tracked their progress through her scope, ready to provide supporting fire if they encountered resistance. Everything went according to plan until the team breached the main building. Suddenly, the compound erupted in gunfire as Taliban fighters poured out of hidden positions. The assault team found themselves heavily outnumbered and pinned down in the courtyard. Contact. We're taking heavy fire from multiple positions, came the urgent radio call. Through her scope, Sarah could see muzzle flashes coming from at least 6 different locations around the compound. The assault team was trapped in a kill zone with limited cover and no clear escape route. Overwatch, we need immediate fire support. Lieutenant Commander Stevens called over the radio. Multiple targets, danger close. Sarah's training took over completely. She identified the most immediate threats to the assault team and began engaging targets with precision fire. Her first shot eliminated a Taliban fighter who was flanking the team's position. Her second shot took out a machine gunner who was raking the courtyard with automatic fire. Each shot was deliberate and accurate, carefully aimed to neutralize threats without endangering the assault team. Sarah moved from target to target methodically, using her medical training to assess which enemies posed the greatest immediate danger to her teammates' survival. Within minutes, Sarah had eliminated 5 enemy fighters and suppressed several others, allowing the assault team to maneuver out of the kill zone and complete their mission. The high-value target was captured, and the team prepared to extract. As they moved toward the extraction point, Lieutenant Commander Stevens' voice came across the radio. Overwatch, that was outstanding shooting. You saved all our lives tonight. The successful mission marked a turning point in Sarah's military career. Word of the medic who had provided precision sniper support reached the highest levels of Special Operations Command. Within days, Sarah received orders that would change her life forever. She was being assigned to the Army's elite sniper school for formal training. Sarah stared at the orders with mixed emotions. Part of her was honored by the recognition of her abilities and excited about the opportunity to work with the best marksmen in the military. But another part of her struggled with the implications. She had joined the Army to save lives as a medic, not to take them as a sniper. Chief Rodriguez found her sitting alone in the base mess hall, staring at her orders. Having second thoughts? He asked, sliding into the seat across from her. I became a medic to help people, Sarah said, quietly. Now they want to train me to kill people. I'm not sure that's who I want to be. The chief nodded thoughtfully. I understand your conflict, but consider this. In the past month, your shooting skills have saved more American lives than your medical skills. Sometimes the best way to help people is to stop the ones who want to hurt them. Sarah looked up at him. How do you reconcile it? The taking of life? Every shot I've taken has been to protect innocent people or my teammates, Chief, Rodriguez replied. I don't take life lightly, but I also don't hesitate when good people are in danger. Your medical background actually makes you better suited for this than most snipers, because you understand the value of life better than anyone. The conversation helped clarify Sarah's thinking. She realized that her medical training and her shooting abilities weren't contradictory skills. They were complementary. Both required precision, calm under pressure, and a deep understanding of human anatomy. Both were ultimately about protecting and preserving life. 2 weeks later, Sarah arrived at Fort Benning for the Army Sniper School. The course was renowned for its difficulty, with a failure rate exceeding 60%. Students were pushed to their physical and mental limits while learning advanced marksmanship, fieldcraft, and tactical skills. Sarah was one of only 2 women in her class of 32 students. The instructors and other students watched her carefully, waiting to see if the stories about the medic-turned-marksman were true or exaggerated. Staff Sergeant Mike Thompson, the chief instructor, addressed the class on the first day. I don't care what you did before you got here. I don't care about your reputation or your previous assignments. In this school, you prove yourself every single day through your performance. The first phase of training focused on marksmanship fundamentals. Students spent hours on the range, learning to shoot with precision at distances up to 1,000 meters. Sarah's natural ability and previous training with Chief Rodriguez gave her an advantage. but the standards were much higher than anything she had experienced. During one particularly challenging exercise, students had to engage targets at various ranges while accounting for wind, temperature, and elevation changes. Many students struggled with the complex calculations, but Sarah found that her medical background helped her understand the scientific principles involved. Martinez, Staff Sergeant Thompson called out after reviewing her targets. Perfect score. How did you calculate that wind correction at 800 meters? I used the same systematic approach I use for medication dosages, Sarah replied. Break down the variables, apply the formulas, and double-check your math. The instructor nodded approvingly. Interesting approach. Your medical training is serving you well. As the course progressed, Sarah excelled in every phase of training. Her fieldcraft skills developed rapidly as she learned to move undetected through various terrains. Her camouflage and concealment techniques were nearly flawless, and she could remain motionless for hours while observing targets. But it was during the stalking exercises that Sarah truly distinguished herself. Students had to move across open terrain to reach shooting positions within 200 meters of instructor observers, all while remaining completely undetected. Most students were spotted and failed the exercise multiple times. Sarah approached stalking with the same methodical precision she applied to medical procedures. She studied the terrain carefully, planned her route in detail, and moved with infinite patience. Her first stalking attempt was successful, and she continued to pass every subsequent exercise. I've been teaching this course for 8 years, Staff Sergeant Thompson told his fellow instructors. Martinez is the most naturally gifted student I've ever seen. Her combination of technical precision and tactical instincts is extraordinary. The final phase of sniper school involved complex scenarios that tested all the skills students had learned. Sarah was paired with another student as a sniper team and assigned to conduct surveillance.